Doom RPG was an official Doom game released back in 2005 for your Nokias and flip phones. Surprisingly, Doom RPG was a good game. No, not just a good game, a great game. It was a 6-hour-long campaign that you could play in the back of your math class on your Nokia. They translated what made Doom so fun into a first-person shooter roguelike. Well, 3 years later, they did it again with Wolfenstein RPG, making an entirely new engine since Doom RPG proved profitable and was a success. A couple of years after that, in 2010, they released the sequel to Doom RPG, Doom 2 RPG. This used the engine that Wolfenstein RPG used. This engine was a significant upgrade in every way. Unlike the original Doom RPG, Doom 2 RPG uses proper 3D models for the world. Enemies and weapons and whatnot are still using sprites, but this is still a huge upgrade to the original game. Doom 2 RPG can also have multiple floors to its levels, whereas the first game could not. Everything was on the same plane like the old Wolfenstein games. Hey everyone, Jarek here. And I never played these games back in the day. In fact, I didn't even know they existed until not long ago. The reason I found out they existed is because some mad person reverse engineered this and released it for free on PC. That's what's more surprising to me than anything. It's not necessarily that a Doom fan was insane enough to do this, we all know how crazy Doom fans can get. It's that they never ported this to anything else. Doom RPG would have worked perfectly on the Game Boy Advance. Wolfenstein RPG would have worked perfectly on the DS. Doom 2 RPG would have worked perfectly on the DS. Hell, wait a year and they put it on the 3DS. It's a game that would have translated to some form of handheld, but it stayed stuck on just mobile phones. Keep in mind, this was before the time of microtransactions eating up all of your money and making billions of dollars. Mobile games back then were trying to prove themselves. We can make console level quality on our mobile phones. And occasionally they would. Keep in mind the main word there was occasionally. They were very rare, but there was some hidden gems hidden away on your mobile phone back in the day that you probably had no idea about. Doom 2 RPG is a great example, and now you finally have the chance to play both Doom RPG and Doom 2 RPG. I have been editing a lot this last month, so taking a walk, relaxing at a local park, and just in time because the weather is finally getting cold enough to start putting on some long sleeve shirts. And Into the AM has sent me their fall bundle. They sent me a long sleeve shirt, one of their joggers, and this hoodie. These are going to be my comfortable, lazy clothes while it's rainy and cold outside. Except for this hoodie, I'm going to wear this thing a lot more than that. This thing is extremely comfortable. All this stuff is, and they are offering a lot more for fall. Alright, I've made my way back home, and we are looking at the Fall 2023 collection on Into the AM's website. So let's just look through the assortment of things they have. If you want comfortable, basic stuff, you don't want to stand out, you just want something that works like this hoodie, there's the hoodie right there. They have long sleeve button-ups if you want to look a little more formal. But if you scroll down, you start getting into their more interesting designs. Their graphic tees seem to be a favorite amongst my viewers, and they do look really good. They got a beanie for the colder temperatures coming up, and ooh, I really like this one. So I actually have a shirt just like this. My green screen is not wanting to cooperate, but I wear this thing all the time. I love how this looks. It fits the black and red color scheme I usually go to. It looks more fiery. It's just a really cool design. Also, it's a lion. Let's scroll down a little more and see some of these other designs here. Ooh, this one looks pretty good. Again, as you can tell, they're really getting into the fall spirit with some of these designs and going right on board of that with some of these hoodies. These look real good to me. And there's a page too, which I will let you guys explore on your own. If you want to get 10% off site-wide, it'll stack on top of any deal or any pack they have on their website, go to intotheam.com/dragonshirts. Fall collection isn't going to last forever, so check it out. Huge thanks to Into the AM for sending me all this stuff and for sponsoring my channel so often. They are a real pleasure to work with. Installing this on your computer is incredibly easy. First, make a folder somewhere on your computer. It doesn't matter what it's called or where it is, just that you know where it is. Just call it Doom 2 RPG or something. Then download this zip file and extract it to that folder. Next, you'll need the doom2rpg.ipa file. Download this and extract it to the same folder. Then you'll need to install OpenAL. This is very simple. You just download it, click install, and it happens in a second. This is so you'll actually get audio when you're playing. That's what this is used for. And then you're done. Click the exe file and you're playing Doom 2 RPG on your PC. This is done exceptionally well. You can rebind buttons to whatever you want. You can use a controller, any controller you want to, Xbox, PlayStation, it should work with it. And it even has Rumble support, which is surprising. Video settings go all the way up to 1920 by 1080. And while I'm running on a 1440p screen so it doesn't completely match it, you can just turn it to borderless and it will fill your screen. Still, 1920 by 1080 is the resolution I think most people are still using, and it's the correct aspect ratio for most monitors, so this is great. This thing never crashed, it never hitched, it just worked as intended. And of course, this doesn't require much out of your computer, so you can run this on basically anything. I touched up on this earlier, but this looks so much better than Doom RPG. Which isn't surprising, phones advanced a lot in between 2005 and 2010. This game also got the full budget treatment. It's no longer just using the original Doom game sprites and repurposing them. Everything in here was made from scratch. This means that even though it kept a lot of the same concepts, like for example numerous different variants of the same enemy, all of these enemies have new sprite work now. There's even new enemies as a whole. Oh my god, the pinkies are so small. What? Why are they so small? Well, he's dead. Ow. And they knock you backward. They go 2 spaces and knock you backward. That's interesting. That didn't replace the pinky, that's just a new enemy. And then there are enemies that are a little terrifying sounding. What are you? Alright, so there is a bunch of new content, but for the most part, you're going to be fighting the same familiar cast of Doom demons. And this isn't a bad thing. Doom's cast of enemies are tried and true. It's actually amazing how well these enemies lend themselves to an entirely different genre. There's so much diversity to them and they serve so many different roles, it creates a puzzle within a first-person shooter, so naturally, that's what you have in a roguelike, except for it's turn-based. They even have their own little twists. Now, like in the first game, this game is based on a grid. If you move from one tile to the next, enemies can also use their turn. If you attack, enemies can also use their turn. This means they'll either move or try to attack you. However, some enemies have the ability to move and then attack, or attack and then move in the same turn. One of these enemies is the Archvile. The Archvile has never been this much of a pain in the ass before. And that's saying a lot considering it's the Archvile. This thing has always been a pain in the ass. So there's a bunch of little simple to understand twists to the combat that you have to keep in mind. But let's go back to those new assets I was talking about earlier. As you probably have noticed, most of these new weapons are Doom 3 weapons, but made with new sprite work. While a lot of these weapons are from Doom 3, many of them work similarly but different. For example, the first weapon you get in the game is the Doom 3 SMG, but with a long barrel, and now it's called an assault rifle. Slap a civilian barrel on that thing and that's how an assault rifle is born. It works okay. It basically functions as the weak starting weapon in the game. There's no pistol in this game, which is a good thing because the assault rifle is more useful than just a dinky pistol. And eventually you'll get a scope on this assault rifle. Of all ways to attach a scope to the Doom 3 SMG, you just glue it on top of the ammo counter. Man, that thing just looks goofy. And anyway, I thought this thing was garbage for the longest time, because why would I need to scope in a game like this? I'm either going to hit them or miss, that's just how it works. But very late in the game, I realized this allows me to aim diagonally. I don't have to aim forward or 90 degrees in each direction. I can just aim across tiles now. Holy shit, I wish I knew this earlier in the game. That's so useful. What isn't useful is the super shotgun. Never thought I would say those words. Yeah, this thing is rather underwhelming. It's unironically what people think the Doom 3 shotgun is. It just does such little damage. It's a super shotgun. It shoots 2 shells at once. How does it do such little damage? Now, some enemies do seem to be weak to it, and that seems to be a hidden mechanic. Certain weapons do more damage to certain enemies, but this is never explained to you. However, very few of those enemies exist for the super shotgun, and I usually had full ammo with it because I just didn't have much reason to use it. The rest of the weapons are Doom 3 weapons, and they work like you would expect them to. Even the Soul Cube comes back. Kill 5 enemies, and then you can instant kill another enemy. However, there is one new weapon. And believe it or not, it's one of the most powerful weapons in the game, a squirt gun. Holy water pistol. What? I love this. Oh. It unscared. Can I reach from here? This is the best weapon ever. This squirt gun is filled with holy water, except for you can refill the squirt gun with toilet water. So either this entire facility runs on holy water, or this super soaker just turns water into holy water. I choose to believe that they're all just drinking holy water because that's a much funnier solution. You know, instead of sprinkling garlic around you to keep vampires away, just have holy water everywhere to keep the demons out. Anyway, these demons predictably don't like holy water and get bug-eyed anytime you shoot them. What trees? I see something in that tree over there. That's an imp. I see you. Oh, that's not an imp. How did it get way over there? Oh, okay, well. The result is that when you spray them with holy water, they become terrified of you and try to get away. This instantly becomes one of your best tools in the game. It's incredibly useful. You also have the ability to go into your inventory and use 25 of your holy water supply, scaring every enemy within one tile of you. As silly as this is and as stupid as it looks, this is actually brilliant. It makes battles more than just shooting at the enemy until they die, or they miss a few times and just hope not to take damage. Yeah, you could lure them into traps so you can get one-on-one and stuff like that, but still that's a little shallow compared to holy water that makes the enemies move and reposition. It's not much, but that little bit of added depth is absolutely the best thing you could ask for. Oh, and there's also one more weapon. Toilets. Yeah, you can just rip sinks out of walls and chuck them at enemies. The other new addition is the addition to drinks that will boost your stats temporarily. Some of these get absolutely nuts, and they do stack on top of each other. That's what all those icons are in the top right. You can use a drink that will double your damage by 100%, and then use another drink that allows you to go 2 turns at once. You will get a lot of these. At first I kind of stockpiled them because, yeah, I have a resource. I'm not going to use them until I absolutely need to. But you get so many that you might as well use them whenever you have multiple enemies around you. Within reason, of course. Just don't get to the end of the game having used none of them, that you get a lot. Just like how many medkits and snacks and armor you get. So medkits and snacks do the same thing, just snacks don't heal you as much. Armor, however, is different, and this is where I'm going to have to explain the stats. When you first start the game, you have the choice between 3 different characters. A major, a scientist, and a sergeant. The major is Kira Morgan. Her stats by default give you higher agility and speed. This effectively is a class that is requiring enemies to miss their shots, as agility raises evasion. The scientist has the worst combat stats out of them all, as you would expect. However, he has the highest IQ. I'll talk about what this does in a bit. Meanwhile, there's the sergeant, Stan Blazkowicz. I'm going to read this directly from a wiki, so if none of this ends up being true, blame the wiki. According to John Romero and Tom Hall, BJ Blazkowicz is Keen's grandfather, and Stan is another Blazkowicz, Keen's grandson and ancestor of Doom Guy. So yeah, they're all related and interconnected. Anyway, this class is the best fighter out of them all. He has the lowest IQ, which makes sense, but he has the highest strength and defense. His other stats aren't bad either, so he just seemed like the base good option to choose. I later found out that this is definitely true. You can raise your stats manually through in-game prompts. For example, you'll occasionally come across this accuracy terminal. It only requires 2 credits to do this little mini-game to increase your accuracy. You can sit here and do this forever and raise it to 99, which is the max level. 2 credits is like nothing. You'll have way more than that, so you can easily do this. The same thing applies to agility. You'll find these treadmills, and you can just do this little mini game, and you'll eventually get to 99 agility. It takes a while, and it's a little more annoying because this was made to be used with a touchscreen, and while touchscreen controls are very, very light, this is one of the times you actually have to use them, so you're just clicking back and forth instead of tapping with your left and right thumb. I really should clarify that like 99% of this game is playable with just a keyboard or just a controller. The only times you'll have to use your mouse is if you're trying to aim with the SMG scope or clicking on something in the shop. Anyway, since you can very early on raise your agility to 99, it kind of defeats the point of choosing the other character that was supposed to have high agility to begin with. And this really does make a difference. Enemies will miss you a lot with 99 agility. Raising strength and defense is a lot harder. To raise your strength, you chainsaw everything. It doesn't matter if it's a table, it doesn't matter if it's a corpse, chainsaw things, it will raise your strength. As for defense, the way you raise this is you collect 5 armor shards, you go to one of these robot things, and create a flak jacket. This will also increase your defense at the same time. So basically, never use armor shards, only use flak jackets, save your armor shards. So yeah, the first character is kind of pointless because you can just raise your agility and accuracy right away. So you might as well choose the one that has higher strength and defense since that's a lot harder to raise. But what about IQ? What about the scientist? Well, a higher IQ allows you to hack things easier. This also means absolutely nothing for 99% of the game. These hacking minigames are actually not bad. Dare I say I found them fun. But they're also not incredibly difficult, so having a higher IQ and making them easier doesn't really mean anything. Seems more like going hard mode. Speaking of hard mode, occasionally this game will throw bosses at you. And no, they're actually not that hard. They definitely do throw you into situations where you have to think far more than the rest of the game though. I do like them. There's 4 bosses in total, 2 of which are familiar, 2 are brand new. I'll show you the first one, the Pinkinator. This thing just shoots green slime at you until, oh god, there's too many enemies now. Yeah, this is a situation where you're going to need to think. Now, you have so many resources and so many medkits that you probably won't end up dying, but you definitely have to deal with a lot of enemies. Eventually, I prioritized just getting the smaller enemies out of the way so I could actually focus on the boss. Overall, it's pretty good. What's not pretty good is the lack of music. Yeah, it has the same problem as the original Doom RPG. It's completely quiet when nothing's happening. This is kind of awkward, so I was just playing Doom music in the background. Okay, that's what you're doing. But what's actually going on though? This is a sequel to Doom RPG 1, right? Well, apparently Doom 2 RPG takes place a year after Doom 1 RPG. People knew something happened on Mars, but they didn't really know what was going on. Well, Marines started getting distress signals from the base on the moon. So yeah, this doesn't take place on Mars, it takes place on the moon. The game starts with a cutscene of you flying in, and yeah, something is immediately wrong. The invasion has already begun. There is a lot of dialogue written rather well between a lot of different characters, but there's really only 2 characters that are important. Both of these characters are AI. The first one is Sal. She's a smartass AI that's supposed to help out UAC, but is a little bit of a pain. Regardless, Sal is on your side. The other is Vios. Vios is actively hostile to the player, just trying to toy around with you. You don't really know this AI's intentions, but it demands Malok. It will battle you, and if you don't give it Malok, the battle will continue. If you select Malok, it'll leave you alone. Now the motives are unclear on both sides. Is Sal holding something back? Does she know something that you don't know, or is Vios actually just evil? I'm trying not to spoil things because I know a lot of people didn't even know these games existed, and now that they're free on PC, I'm sure you'll want to play them, and I would recommend you to. As for the way this game looks, even though it takes place mostly in gray corridors, there's some diversity here. You may come across an area that's greener than the rest of the base. Or hell, you might go to hell. It's not the most diverse, but it's a lot more than I expected. As for the actual map layouts, this is where I feel it changed the most between Doom RPG and Doom 2 RPG. In Doom RPG, I was frequently looking at the map, figuring out where to go. I wasn't ever annoyed at doing this, it was usually exploring, and I wanted to do that. In Doom 2 RPG, the map still exists, but the gameplay feels a lot more linear. In fact, I may not even have any footage of me using the map. I probably used it for a total of 10 seconds the entire playthrough. The game doesn't ever hold your hand, but you're definitely guided to where you need to go a lot easier than the first game. Depending on who you are, this is a good or bad thing. It's definitely a lot more seamless, but it also definitely changes the pacing a little bit. But it works out. The pacing in this game is faster, and the combat encounters you get into are much bigger. So, do I like Doom 2 RPG more than Doom 1 RPG? Well, I don't actually know. It's definitely more advanced, and I would definitely say it's the better game, because it is Doom 1 RPG, but realized with a ton of stuff added to it, without a hindrance at all. It didn't ruin it in any way. I will say I kind of prefer the slower pacing a little more of the first game, but really Doom 2 RPG is better in every other way, and even that part is just personal preference. I would still recommend you to play both of them though, they're really good games. And now that they're on PC, you don't even have to worry about old mobile stuff just not working and being lost to time. Just don't be one of those crazy weird people that plays the sequel before the first one, or only plays the sequel. Why do people do that? What's wrong with you? Anyway, that about sums up this video. If you liked it, consider subscribing. I'm somewhat close to 250k, so I'm trying to push to get there. Also, big thanks to everyone that joined me over on Twitch. I streamed this all at once. It was like a 6-hour stream. This game is about 6 hours long. I didn't even realize. It was just fun, and I was having fun talking to people. So if you want to hang out in the future, twitch.tv/Jarek4GamingDirect. And of course, a big thanks to my YouTube members. They get to see my videos 1 week ahead of time. If you want to join, that button is down by the subscribe button. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next week.